Hey everyone, this is Echo here. I'm making this because I know there's a lot of talk about MRAs once again, and I can't help but make a video in response to this. There is something I want to point out, and that's going to be the point of my whole video, but before I do that, I just want to say that I've been dealing with MRAs for years now, even before I made this channel. Now, people could say that I spend a lot of time in videos addressing MRAs, and I'm not denying that. The whole purpose of my channel, or at least the original reason why I created this channel, was for two reasons. One reason was because I wanted to address movements that I saw as a backlash to progressive changes that happened in the past few decades. We can't deny that in today's world, there is this huge conservative backlash against the environmental and gay rights movement. I have made videos denouncing people who are against animal rights, people who are anti-Semites, so-called environmental skeptics, and people who just get in the way of homosexual rights. Before I get to my main point, or the reason why I made this video to begin with, I'll explain why I target MRAs. It's mostly for two reasons. One reason is because of how popular they are, and how accepted they are. You can easily say that a race realist, a Holocaust denier, or a religious fundamentalist are part of a fringe group. But people don't seem to have a problem with MRAs. Now, let me make this analogy here. Let's say there was a movement called the Caucasian Rights Movement. They would go on to say that the white people have suffered just as much as minorities, and they would use economic issues, not racial issues, to back up their claim. They would say that the civil rights movement ignored the suffering of white people, and would go so far as to say that it vilified white people, and concepts like anti-discrimination laws, affirmative actions resulted in the oppression of white people. But MRAs do the exact same thing here. When they go against the feminist movement, they shamelessly shift the oppression on their side using faulty reasons. Other issues revolving around males that society needs to be aware of? Yes, but they don't compare it to the issues that women have had for a long time. In fact, many MRAs use economic issues, not gender issues, to back up their claim. When they talk about homeless men, deaths in the workplace, those are economic issues, and in many cases, women share these issues as well. However, MRAs will find some reason, or try to find any reason to blame the women's movement on these issues. This goes on to my second reason why I target MRAs, mostly because of their dishonesty. I could go on how many MRAs just block people just because they have different viewpoints, how they misuse facts, and how they take examples out of proportions. I have made videos that covered all of this. So this is why I'm motivated to call their videos out. Because while they're gaining popularity, they're using dishonest methods while doing it. When it comes to the internet, or specifically YouTube, most users are younger males. Now, many of these younger males aren't mentally developed yet, so emotionally they'll want to sympathize with a movement that claims to side with their own gender. So if someone like Paul Elam, Pinegrove, or Rocky Mr. E makes a claim how men are suffering, these guys will just believe them without really questioning these people. And MRAs like Paul Elam, they know this. Now, it's kind of like how many born-again Christians will listen to a so-called scientist claiming that homosexuality is a choice without being skeptical of these people. It's the same thing. Now, the whole purpose of me making this video is because it's something I wanted to point out in the men's rights movement. As extreme as these MRAs appear to be, there is even an extremist group within the men's rights movement. Now, for a while I've been observing a certain MRA by the name of Barbarossa. If you think people like Paul Elam and Pinegrove have a problem with women, you have never seen Barbarossa's videos before. Along with being a bigot against homosexuals, this guy is a woman-hating lunatic. He makes Mullah Omar look like Hillary Clinton.
Avoid relationships. Why would you step into a voluntary war and fraternize with the enemy? And yes, women are your enemy. I'm sick of pretending that women aren't the enemies of men just because most of them have been deceived into accepting feminism. I'm not buying that.
Many MRAs don't fully understand what the concept of gender war is all about and what it fully entails. And in this video I said that if I were to see a woman being raped, I would continue on as if nothing ever happened. And I still stand by that statement unapologetically, and I assert that I'm 100% justified in this line of thought.
Let me approach this first by dispelling the myth that gays are being oppressed. Gays have more rights than others just for being gay, and the reasons that gays are being deprived the right to marry is because they cannot, by definition, grow a marriage into a family without adopting, and in doing so, completely skewing the prospective child's understanding of the concept of gender and reproduction. The only things I need to understand that homosexuality is a dysfunction is my common sense and my biblical morality. I heard this shit, I wanted to get up and spit in her face as an introduction to what I think about people like her. And I'm not going to repeat or try to convey what else I wanted to do to her, because I would simply seem then like a pretty disturbed individual to you femme-ra bitches. That's right, femme-ra bitches, who are more worried about the feminists and how they might not like my intimidating or abrasive language.
Yes, he actually calls out other MRAs for being soft on feminists. Now, I want to show you a video he made that really stuck out, and it really explains what he's all about.
You're more concerned with appearing pacified and toothless to the government-funded feminists in hopes that they'll reward you with some of your so-called rights. Well, not me. I don't want to round up enough men so that we can meekly and feebly strike a deal of coexistence with the institution of Marxist feminism. No, I want nothing less than the complete and utter annihilation of feminist power until everybody, not just feminists, but everybody is forced to simply make their own way, without government handouts, divorce settlements, unjust child support, affirmative action, hate crime legislation, sexual harassment laws.
If this isn't being a fanatical extremist, I don't know what is. The sad part is people look at him as a big-time rebel. The most disturbing part is not what he says, even though it's pretty bad, but over how people like him. If you look at his videos, you'll see that his videos get a positive reaction from most users, and that's something I just can't stomach. It makes me so cynical looking at this. In the previous video I made, called Pursue the Rebels, I explained that if someone was truly rebellious, they don't want the whole system torn down. Instead, they want changes within the system, progressive changes. Changes that involve giving people equal protection provided by the government, regardless of what gender, sexuality, and race they are, where people live in a community that support each other. However, Barbarossa seems to be against all of this. The truth is he is anything but rebellious. He is old school as it gets. His beliefs reflect on such an old-fashioned way of thinking, and he expresses it in a violent fashion. Barbarossa is no rebel or righteous figure. He is nothing other than a hateful extremist. Now, on to my main conclusion. You would think that many so-called moderate MRAs would distance themselves from people like Barbarossa, or dare I say, speak against him. Now, when you look at many moderate feminists on YouTube, they go to great lengths to make it known they are nothing like the radical feminist. If some moderate sex-positive feminist on YouTube would have someone like Nuclear Knight under their recommended channel list, you would know that MRAs and other anti-feminists would jump on it and say that, hey, all feminists are all the same, and use that as an example. But you don't see that same standard with MRAs. In fact, if you look at some MRA channels, you'll see that Barbarossa is on their recommended list. So if MRAs were all for gender equality and justice, shouldn't they take some effort to denounce people like Barbarossa, or at the very least, not have them under their recommended channel list? Many MRAs accuse feminists of being all the same, but I think it's the other way around. Now, I'm not denying that there's possibly some moderate MRAs that are more rational, but from my experience, it just seems that MRAs are just a group of people who share this resentment towards women, and it doesn't matter how extreme some of these people are, they will all stick together regardless.